Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. It is my pleasure to be sat down here on a rooftop of Guadalajara. Some mad Mexican tunes playing in the background. Lovely backdrop, I must say. Mr. Conor Benn, thank you for your time. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good. First time we caught up, really, and sort of spoke ever away from boxing. Nice to see you. Supporting John here. Just wow, first things first. They've delivered the homecoming for Canelo. It's going to be about 50,000-60,000 people in there. The Lion's Den, they call it. A real special experience and an opportunity for John Ryder to create history.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is legacy. You know, it's life-changing. You know, it's generational. So, yeah, I mean, listen, you've got to take your hats off to John. He's doing what many wouldn't. You know, it says a lot about John coming over here to Guadalajara and, you know, challenging one of the pound best in the world. It's, you know, it says a lot about the whole team, really.
Before we talk about John, your experience here in Guadalajara so far, enjoying it?
I've loaded up on all the food over here. That's what I do now. You know, some tacos, quesadillas. I've loaded up.
Let's talk about John here. He has got a real difficult challenge ahead of him, but I spoke to him on Zoom a couple of weeks ago and we sort of both agreed that if there's a better time to fight Canelo, it probably is now. He comes off the back of the hand surgery, maybe a slightly subpar performance against Golovkin and obviously the loss against BBBoC. Some people also thought he looked a little bit flat against Caleb Plant. Do you believe that now is the best time for John Ryder to fight him?
Listen, John's coming on heaps of rounds, isn't he? You know, he's always stayed dedicated, always in the gym. You know, he's got better as time's gone on. I feel that's definitely the right time now. You know, John's really up for it, and you know, he's been grafting hard in the gym. Not just now, but you know, ever since I've come along in the gym, John's been like a role model, and you know, he's set the bar of, you know, the lifestyle of a true professional athlete. In terms of the way he trains, even when he's out of camp, he's still training hard. You know, he comes down to the gym, does the early morning sprints, no fight day in sight, and you know, keeps it moving, keeps it working. And you know, obviously my situation without a fight day, you know, the past obviously few months, you know, it's inspired me to stay in the gym and keep working. And obviously hard work always pays off, which is, you know, obviously happened to John.
He's forced himself to be the mandatory challenger, but it's not been an easy ride. When you look at his record, you could almost say, well, it's incredible that he's got to this point now. It wasn't to be that night in Liverpool. Sort of a lot of people thought that he'd won that fight or done enough to get the decision in that fight. He sort of said that everything feels like it has a reason and a purpose, and this week is that reason and purpose. Do you believe that because of what happened that night in Liverpool, sort of not allowing him the opportunity to become the world champion, that moment that he's dreamed of for so long, that gives him an extra thing to fight for this weekend?
I don't know, but I can only imagine that's developed a huge amount of mental toughness. You know, I sort of look at John and I look at the cards he's been dealt, not any situation of his, and I sort of go, that must be hard. Everything you dreamed of, it. You mean all the belts, you know, taken right in front of you after you just won the fight convincingly. Everyone see it. Everyone see you won the fight. You know, there was an uproar about it. For that to be taken away from you, when, you know, people weren't giving you that much of a chance anyway, you go in there and do the job and you still don't get your hand raised at the end of it. It was, that makes you mentally tough. But, you know, John seemed to have stayed in good spirits, and, you know, it was all about the get back. You know, straight back in the gym, straight working, and, you know, ready to claim what's his. And, you know, now he's in one of, you know, the biggest fights in one of the, you know, the maddest countries in the world.
There's a lot of stigma around the O in boxing, Conor. John lost that O a long time ago. He's got 5 losses, but it's something that's never fazed him. Is that also testament to the sort of person he is, and also maybe a message to other fighters? You know, pick up a few losses, and a lot of them, and the public perception, etc., is that they're done. He's been written off time and time again, and once again he is written off Saturday night. But he's proved people wrong time and time again. Another thing?
I don't really know. Do you know what I mean? I mean, listen, my dad lost against, you know, Watson, lost against Collins, lost against Eubanks. Who's the one, you know, most loved and remembered out of the names I just mentioned? You know, when my dad lost to all of them. I think, you know, you take the hardest fights to get, you ain't going to win all of them. You know, some days you have good days, some days you have bad days, and you know, that's that. Is what it is. You keep it moving. You know, some days just don't go your way, and that's that.
What does he have to do Saturday night to become the new super middleweight world champion?
Be John Ryder. Stick to the game plan, stick to the tactics. They know what they got to do. That's between him and Tony. They know what they got to do. John's just got to be John and do what he does to get the win, which is, by all means.
I believe the best John Ryder in Saturday night does beat Canelo Alvarez.
I really do, yeah. I really do.
Conor, Joe Cordina has become a two-time world champion. I keep saying it in interviews, but what a sort of weird circumstance to become two-time world champion with Euro in the same weight, all in the space of about a year. He was stripped unfairly, but I suppose now, speaking to him in hindsight, probably better to say that you're a two-time world champion. I know everything that he went through, it must have been horrible. But what a thing to sort of just say that you've done. And what a great performance against a real elite fighter in Rahkimov.
What a fight. That was a mad fight, wasn't it? I was sitting at the edge of my seat at the TV just going, go on, Joe, go on, Joe. He's one of them fighters where he's so skillful, he doesn't need to show that spite or that dog. But you guys saw it in that fight. People going to me, it's Joe spiteful, he's got that dog in him. I'm going, you lot, he's so skillful, you don't even need to see that.
Just picking that up, SD card was full there. Yeah, sorry, just back on Joe.
Yeah, he's a spiteful fighter. Don't need to really show that side or show the dog or, the grit, because he's such a skillful fighter, and, everyone got to see it that night. I
was watching the fight, and at times, and I suppose you talk about the dog, I was thinking, why is he holding his feet? Because there were times where it was so effortless that he was just boxing him and using that sort of amateur style as such, something that he would have perfected in his craft for years, that was boxing his socks off. But like you say, people questioned whether Joe had that dog in him. He said to me afterwards he always wanted to have a sort of Gatti Ward type fight, and he sort of proved it in that fight that he could hold his feet.
That's without question. There's a lot of things that fighters don't always get to show, especially when you've got the level of skill Joe does. It's like Joe didn't need to, but he's an entertainer. That's that. He made the fight entertaining. And then people forget it's the entertainment. No one wants to watch a boring fight. Did that fight have you at the edge of your seat?
Oh yeah.
He won. There's many people who win fights but lose, really. There's many people who have great fights but they still lost, really. Do you know what I mean? And Joe's that skillful. You don't need to go into wars. You don't need to, but he's got that dog in him, and if he gets it, he wants to give one back. People say I'm spiteful. People say I'm a dog. People ain't inspired Joe. Do you know what I mean?
Testament to Tony as well, what he's done with you guys. The gym's in a great position. Everyone's flying, and got that world title back. And I know it's been a difficult time for Tony as well, and I just know how much this everything will mean to him here.
I wouldn't even say just say Tony. I said the whole gym. It's been nice for the whole gym, for Joe to go and get that world title and bring it to the gym and bring it home. The gym needed that. It was it was all over the moon for him. When Joe wins, when John wins, when whoever wins, we all win.
All right, Conor, let's talk about yourself. Obviously, we know that there is a legal sort of case ongoing, and there's not too much that we can go into with yourself. Just firstly, we were sort of looking at June 3, June 17. Does that still seem like a reality for yourself?
Any of them dates, good for. I'm ready now. It's just about making the right fights materialise, the biggest fights. Obviously, world level opposition. You're talking about final eliminators, world titles, big names. That's what we want. So these fights obviously take time. It's not just a matter of going, do you want to fight, do you want to fight? I wish it was that simple. If it was, do you want to fight, do you want to fight? Yes, let's fight. There's a lot of money involved. There's, promotional companies, there's dates, venues. It's all got to add up. So I'm just letting the team focus on doing what they got to do. You can obviously see that I'm working and training hard and doing my part. I trust my team to deliver the big fights, that are going to, get me to the world title. And the big fights and, the big nights, man.
Just sort of quickly before I ask a few questions about the obvious, do you feel like in a weird way more people want to fight you now than ever? I mean, there's so many names in elite level boxing that are calling for yourself to fight. Does it sort of baffle you when you look at it, sort of maybe you channel a little third party as such? I mean, everyone's calling your name. You've got Sean Gibbons moving loose on Twitter, begging for that Manny Pacquiao fight. Does that feel a bit mad to you?
Well, you ain't seen my DMs with Sean. Lovely bloke, but he definitely wants to fight with Pacquiao. It's mad because people think I'm chasing these fights. But then you got the people knocking at my door for the fights. It is crazy, but it is baffling because Pacquiao's a legend. It's like idols to rivals. Sign me up, let's make the fight. For many reasons, it's people think it's all about financially. It's financially beneficial, but at the end of the day, I just want to be in great fights. I'm a fighter at the end of the day, so it's like, why would you not want to fight someone you looked up to growing up? Of course I would. The Khans, the Brooks, the Pacquiaos, give me them names.
Conor, last week, Cardiff Fight Week, we heard the news that obviously the UKAD suspension for yourself had come in, etc. Just before that, and before this news broke about anything, Eddie and Charlie said to me, well, actually, we've gone to UKAD, they've now got the document, the ball is in their court. I know there's not too much you can say. Where are you at with this?
All I know is that what's being dealt with needs to be dealt with. This whole thing was about me clearing up my name. That's all that matters to me. No politics, forget all the politics, forget everything, forget all the media, forget all the narratives that are being pushed. We're doing everything we can, talking to UKAD, dealing with UKAD, and getting this all cleared.
Conor, the board have never recognised VADA before. They have now. Are you in a position where you're sort of becoming a little bit tedious with the way that things have been dealt from the board?
A little bit disappointed, but they haven't. It's like a double standard. For one person it's one rule, for another it's another. But I don't even really want to go into it. The public will soon see for themselves what's what. So it's like, just let it play how it plays out. I'm just focused on clearing my name.
Look, I know you've done your piece with Boxing News, so I'm not going to dwell on this whole situation too much more. We await some good news. Eddie said to me today that good news could potentially be on the way. I suppose yourself, the whole team now, just praying that we can that you can get to a point now where we can move forward and get back on with your career.
I'm ready whenever. I know the team are doing everything they can to make the, I said, big fights happen. We're not here for the small fights. We're here for, world level opposition, world title level fights, final eliminators, big names. So, that takes time to develop.
Conor, let's talk about some fighters. I saw a post that you put up today saying that you'd knock out Gervonta Tank Davis. I was going to say, do you believe that? Of course you believe it, otherwise you wouldn't have said it. How fun a build-up would that be, the two of you? And is it realistic?
Nah, it's not realistic. He's tiny. He comes up to like my waist. So it's not realistic at all. But it's just funny. It's just fun, innit? He was running his mouth, so I just thought, it's my time.
Like I said earlier, it's mad now because you're in a position that everyone and their nan wants to fight you almost. We spoke a little bit off camera about Keith Thurman. I'm sort of going to pass the mic to you as such. Now that's a fight that I'm sure the boxing public would be able to get their teeth stuck into. Certainly the American audience. I know that sort of maybe brief conversations have been had behind closed doors. Do you believe that that's a potential reality?
It should be. I mean, Keith Thurman, last time he tried to make the fight, said he didn't know who I was, which is beyond me because everyone, especially in the welterweight division, knows who I am. So it's like, let's make the fight. I've said to the team, look, let's make the fight. Why not? He was supposed to be fighting Spence. Spence, shown no interest. If he wants to fight, I'm here to fight. I'll fight him tomorrow.
Just on your end, there has been so much back and forth, but yet the fight's not actually being made. Is it becoming a little bit frustrating? Like, on your end, there's been so many talks about opponents. You've just said now Thurman, Spence, Ramirez, Pacquiao, Eubank. The list goes on. Is it a little bit tedious for yourself almost talking about all these guys, sort of and ahhing and thinking, well, will these fights actually happen?
Mate, I'm sitting here just waiting, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like loads of people calling my name. They see it as a payday. But then it's like the people that I feel like I should fight in developments in my career ain't happening. I was willing to jump up to 160, to make a big fight happen.
That'd be a wise idea.
I mean, after his last performance, you tell me. Come on, no, don't give
I'm
me
the interviewer.
Don't give me that look. Go on, you tell me. Was that a smart idea?
Conor, I cannot answer these questions being the man who holds the microphone. My job is to remain impartial at all times.
It would have been a very smart idea. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. But you see, I'm willing to jump up to 160. You know, I don't shy away from nobody. You know, if you're ahead of me, you know, I want you, and you know, that's it. In the welterweight division. And if anyone's ahead of me, let's go. Anyone top 5. You know, we tried to make the UKAD fight. You know, I like UKAD. I think he's a great fighter. But you know, we had Salah say he has no interest in making the UKAD fight. But then you've got to look at it from their eyes. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, they're scared, because it don't make sense for them. Why fight me? Why fight a Virgil Ortiz or Jaron Ennis? It don't make no sense. But I'm here for them fights. You know, UKAD. Let's see now, Barrios, Ramirez, any of them names. Any of them names. We can make them fights.
I'll talk to you about Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, so much bad blood and obviously never got to be settled. He's now evoked the rematch clause. Well, the rematch clause was evoked and now the fight has actually been made. We've seen the announcement press conference. Did you watch it, and what do you make of the way that Chris Eubank Jr. come across in that Liam Smith rematch press conference?
I haven't watched it. But I give Eubanks about 5% chance of winning this fight.
Do you still want that fight?
I don't really have much interest in it, no. No, not especially once it gets dealt with again, no.
Do you feel like almost, if you were to have that fight, it would be more on a commercial level and more on a, sounds weird to say, but maybe pleasing Eddie, Matchroom? Obviously that's a fight that they want.
No, not at all. Not definitely pleasing Eddie, pleasing Matchroom, pleasing the fans. The fans always win. You know, if you look at my career, the fans always win. You know, when they come watch a Conor Benn fight, they always win. I always entertain. I always give them a fight. You know, whether I have to get up off the canvas a couple of times or not, you know, I always give the public what they want. You know, it's entertainment, that's spectacular knockouts. And that's what people want to see. You know, me jumping up to 160, it was like, you know, people were going, it's career suicide, going up to 160 and doing this and doing that. At the end of the day, I get in there and I get stuck straight in, irrelevant of what weight you are. It's my mindset and it's just the way I am. So me, that fight there, I mean, listen, it was bittersweet because I would have loved to have done that myself, and I feel like it would have been more devastating. But you know, I'll happily take the winner.
How does the rematch go?
The rematch goes with a Smith stoppage, and you know, I'll happily take the winner. I'll take Smith. I see Smith calling my name, which is mad. You know, considering he's got a job to do, but I'll happily fight Smith. Fight Smith any day of the week.
More emphatic than before, perhaps?
What do you mean?
A rematch?
Don't really know, mate, to be honest. All I know is that Smith gets him out of there.
Right, Conor, just finally from me, more on yourself mentally. Obviously it's been a long process for you to deal with, and it still goes on now. You know, even the chat that you were just having with the team now, it almost feels a little bit for you like it's just going to go on forever, and you keep asking questions, whether it be of yourself, of your team, just when will it end sort of thing. Mentally, do you feel you're getting better?
It's a struggle, you know, some days more than most, but you know, it's life, innit? It's life, you know. Sometimes, you know, you go through things and you just got to deal with them as they come. And you know, the hardest fight is life, and you know, the struggles it presents to you. Not necessarily anything you may have done or anything, you know, it's just sometimes life don't go the way you think it's going to go, and you've got to play the cards you're dealt and, you know, do what you can and control the controllables.
Just out of curiosity, since all of this has come to fruition, when you go out and about in public, etc., have you dealt with sort of, obviously we see the abuse online, what's it like in person?
It's all love. You got to think it looks bad on socials, but it's really the minority. You think you get 30, 40,000 likes a post, say, you get maybe 100 bad comments. Do the ratio yourself. The people who are hating have time to sit there and hate. I've never met anyone doing better than me, or you know, anyone I go to for advice, sit there and troll anyone. It's the minority. What, you think 30,000 likes? It really is the minority. I only get shown love, always.
You showed your face at Joshua Franklin. That was a sort of a big public event to show your face at. What was your experience like there?
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was overwhelming. You know, I got shown so much love by the supporters. I needed that. You know, because it was like there's so many people rooting for me. There's so many people who can see between the lines, and it's it's overwhelming. I mean, it was blessed. I felt blessed. I felt like, you got to remember, I was living off what social media, and I can only encourage people to not live their life by that, because social media and reality are so different, two completely different things. You know, I know people stunting on the gram who are skinning in real life, but I mean polar opposites. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, social media is fake. It's nothing real about it. You know, so it's like, when I went to the show, it was it was a massive barrier I had to get through and break through, and it was I'm glad I went, because it was like, it was relieving. It was nice.
All right, Conor, thank you very much for making the time to speak to us this evening. It is nice to be able to catch up with yourself. I'm sure that there's much more that you yourself would probably want to say, but you're not really in the position to, and obviously, hopefully that will sort of all come out in due course. Just a final message from yourself?
Just thank you for the support, all the love, the support was supported me through this period. You know, there's been highs, there's been lows, but we keep it moving, and I am forever grateful.
Conor Benn, top man, thank you for speaking to us at Boxing Social.